Well, here's the latest update on the Popeye board. I got doing some checking with my logic probe here, and I figured I'd start with the CPU, the Z80, and of course I checked on pin 11, which is the VCC, the power, and it's 4.82 volts. Now I had to crank my power supply up to get it to do that because I know I have a voltage draw on the video board, but 4.82 should be enough to get it running, I would think. There's still a possibility that could be a problem. But through my checks here, I checked for the clock signal, pin 6, it's pulsing. So I put my voltmeter on it, and it has a frequency setting, so I was getting 3.99 megahertz. So basically I got my 4 megahertz signal on the clock and it's pulsing. So my clock should be good. I checked pin 26, which is the reset, and the reset is high. So that's good. That means the program is running, I believe. And somebody else mentioned on one of the posts, I've been reading up on everything I can find out about this board. Somebody else said that to check pin 18, which is the halt signal, and it's high, and that's what it's supposed to be, so that's good. Then I got checking these ROMs here, which I replaced all the sockets, so it's new sockets. These are newly burnt ROM chips, and I checked the enable, and 7A right here is enabled, and I have signals on all the chips. I think this is the only one that's enabled. So I think it's running code from at least this one right here. So then I went to the 2016 RAM right here, and I probed all the pins on it. I got activity there. I don't know if that means it's good, but the activity looks good. So I'm thinking I'm good on that. Then I got checking this little chip right here. I wasn't sure what it was. I have some pins that are low or high. I can't remember now. But anyway, I got looking at the schematic, and it's 7J, which is the selected decoder. And I'm getting a pulse on the memory read, but I'm not getting anything on the memory write. But I got looking, and I said, well, let me see what that selects. It's hooked up to this 7K, which says it's the custom IC. And I did read something about this custom IC, that if this is bad, it won't run the code. It won't it's sort of like a security chip, I think. I could be wrong about that, but that's my understanding. I'm going to have to do a little more research on it. So anyway, I said, well, let me probe this and see if I'm getting any activity on that. So I got looking on the board here, and it's 7K. All right, here's 7K. It's empty. There's no chip there. It's gone. And I can't tell. I could take the board off and look at the back. I can't tell whether it's always been a chip there, missing, or if somebody took it off, or what the deal is. Now, I read somewhere there's a set of ROMs that you can burn that will work in the board without this chip. So that could be my whole problem. I don't know. I got to do a little more research on this. But for right now, I might as well just wait till I do the research on that and find out if that could be the problem. Might be barking up the wrong tree, but I don't know. All the probing I've done so far on the board says it should be working. But the reason I think I I don't have anything on the monitor except for real faint garble, like a line down this side. I don't think you can pick it up on the camera, but I can see a few little artifacts. So that could be a problem on the video board still. But anyway, I figured I'd start, you know, if it's not running code, then it's not going to be running. Also, this is a new Z80 chip. I pulled this out and stuck it in my Gorf, and Gorf booted up and worked fine with this chip. So I know my Z80 is good. Z80 is good. Got the clock signal. Everything is pretty much looking good so far, but I haven't got to the video side yet. I figured I'd try to make sure that the program was running before I would flip it over and start looking at the video side of things. Also, the ribbon cables. I looked on the schematics just a little bit and just kind of briefly looked over them. And the output for the monitor comes off of the bottom board here, which is the video board, and comes through one of these connectors. I don't know which one. I'd have to look at the schematics again, but they do come. It's probably this one right here, because these, I believe, are the color proms. It's got something to do with the video. So it comes from the video board and comes back on the CPU board here. And of course, it's got to come on this board because this is the only connector right here that connects to the game harness, which is the adapter right here. So all the video signals come through this edge connector right here. So, you know, the video signal has to come somewhere through this board. And I did notice that this one chip right here gets warmer than the other three. So I pulled this chip off right here and fired the board up without this chip in it. And I did see a little extra activity on the monitor, but it's no big change. So anyway, that's where it stands right now. So let me go do a little more research, and when I find something, I'll be back. Okay, well, I did a little research, and I found out that if you don't have the security chip, which is what this is at 7K, this board doesn't have it. Now, I don't know if they ever came from the factory that way, or if somebody removed it, or what the deal is, but it's missing. It's not there. So what I found out is, in order to get the board to run without the chip, security chip, you have to have the Revision D ROMs unprotected version. This right here are the Revision D ROMs that I burnt, but I just checked them again. The files that I burn on here, I checked them in ROMdent, and it just comes up as regular Revision D. So I did a search, and I found a site that had the unprotected ROMs, and it's got 7A, 7B, 7C, and 7E. So I downloaded them. So now I'm going to pull these chips out the board, erase them again, reprogram them, cross our fingers, put them in, and find out if that's a problem. Okay, well, it's the next day, and it was rather late last night, and I tried to burn these new ROMs with the unprotected version, and took a little time to do because my computer is starting to give up the ghost on me. The one that you see me burning EPROMs on, it's a 2006 Gateway computer, and well, it's finally on its last leg. For a while now, the video has been blacking out and coming back on. I thought it was the video card, so I just put another video card in it. It doesn't do that anymore, but what it does do is sometimes it'll just shut off for no reason at all, just power down, even if it's sitting there idling and doing nothing and no heavy CPU use. It'll just like somebody just unplugged the power cord from it. So and then also sometimes when you go to shut it down, it'll give you the blue screen of death. So I got looking, I pulled the cover off of it when I put the video card in, and I have quite a few capacitors on the motherboard that have popped the tops on, and several of them is oozing some brown looking goop out of the top of them. So I'm pretty sure it's capacitors on the motherboard is the problem. So I'm going to have to go ahead and pull that computer down and swap the motherboards in it. But that's another story for another time. Okay, so I finally did get these things programmed. So let's go ahead and install them. This is I labeled them, this is 7A, and I put UP for unprotected on it. So anybody in the future that might give them a hint that it's unprotected ROM set. And I hate putting them in like this. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to unplug the connector here. I always like putting ROMs in parallel to me so I can judge better if they're going in right. Okay, so that's 7A. I need 7B. Now I need 7C. And last, 7E. This one needs to be straightened up a little bit. Okay. All right. Now the revised ROMs, unprotected ROMs are in place. Let me go ahead and plug the edge connector back on. Now, I'm still not having high hopes that this is going to fix the board, because with that power loss from the video side, unless that's normal, which I don't think it is, I'm still suspecting it's going to be problems. But only way to find out, at least hopefully maybe the program will run a little better than it's been running. And maybe it'll, if we're lucky, we'll go into test mode. But first, let's just go ahead and try a regular boot up and see what happens. Cut this light off. Might make it a little better looking in the monitor. All right, here we go. Fire it up and see what happens. Well, I don't hear no sound or nothing, so. It doesn't appear to be any difference. I still got this line down the right side of the monitor of some type of characters. Now let me cycle the power again. It flashes some colors there like it's trying to do something. But no, it's not doing anything. Nothing new anyway. All right, one more thing. Let me push down the button and see if I can get it in test mode, which I doubt, but we'll try it. And now it looks like it's just booting up to the same old thing. Okay, well, what does that tell me? Not much. I still say the CPU is running. I got my clock signals. I got activity on the data lines. It is accessing at least one of the ROMs. Well, I guess the only thing to do is to go back to my original plan. I printed out these large schematics here. So I have all the schematics. So I'm going to start and take one section of the schematics at a time and try to check all these ICs and see if I got anything that looks out of place, any inputs or outputs that might be stuck high or low, and to see if I can track this down a little bit. Now there's one more thing. I do have 2 new ribbon cables coming. Those are the old ribbon cables. Maybe they're not making a good connection. I doubt it, but I figured I'd try anyway. They were supposed to be here today, but UPS is running behind, so not UPS, the Postal Service. Now they claim it might be here tomorrow. So no, Saturday. Today is Tuesday. It was supposed to have been here today, Tuesday. Now they pushed it back to Saturday, so I'm going to have to wait till Saturday before I get those. In the meantime, what I could do is, it's possible that it could be a bad RAM that might keep it from going or booting up. So I might focus on the RAM to see if I have any activity on the RAM. And I do have plenty of 2114s, which is, there'll be 3 of them on the video board, and then the 1620 RAMs. I have new ones of those. Now they're not socketed, so I'm gonna have to remove them and put sockets in. But I have no way of testing those. If I had an Inquisitor, I believe they will test these. But since I don't, and I don't have another board to stick them in to try them, the only thing I can do is to put sockets on the board and put the new chips in and hope that that eliminates those particular RAMs. There's 1 on the CPU board and 2 on the video board. After that, well, we're just going to have to keep digging and see if we can find something. So I'll be back if I find something. Okay, well, it's been a while, but here's an update on what I've been doing. And of course, I think the last time, which has been a while, probably almost a week, I had gone through the process of putting in the new ROMs on the CPU side, because I found out that this board didn't have the security chip, so I had to get the correct ROMs that bypasses security check. So put them in, still nothing. So what I've done since then, we got new ribbon cables in, so I put them on. No change. I didn't think it was, because I had ohmed out the originals that I had, and they seemed to be fine. So what I did was I printed out the schematics up to 125% of their size in the manual, so they're pretty big sections here. And I started out with the CPU, which has 3 of these sections. I took my logic probe, which I have right here, and I started probing every single chip on the board. I went through all 6 of these schematics, and as you can see right here, since the logic probe has 3 colored LEDs, red for high, green for low, yellow for pulse, I got me some magic markers, and on every pin I took note what the logic probe was saying. If it was all 3, I put all 3 down. If it was just 2 or 1 or whatever, well, that's what it did. I went ahead and went through the whole schematic set that way. I figured that way I could sit down with the information on each chip as I look over, see what chip it is, get the data sheet on it, and look at the truth tables and try to figure out what's working and what's not, and where I have a problem. As you can see, I think the camera might be able to pick it up. Here's what's on the screen. It's no color. The picture is dull, kind of dark grayish, but you can still make out there are some characters on the screen, and I believe that that's just random garbage that is in the video RAM. So that at least tells me that I have a sync and that the output of the board is syncing to the monitor, because it is displaying something even though it's nowhere near right. So anyway, we also have the current draw, which when I disconnect, this is the video side of the board, if I disconnect the rainbow cable from this, the voltage goes back up like it should be. When I connect this board, the video board, it drops the voltage down. So I crank the power supply up in my jammer cabinet to where now I'm getting 4.85, I believe, volts. And that's what I've been using to test it, to go through this board. So I have discovered a couple things here by doing this, and I haven't done a whole lot of investigating yet, but I found a little bit on the CPU board, but when I was getting into the third sheet for the video schematic, I noticed down here on this 7S, which is LS157, this pin right here, shucks, what pin is that? I kind of wrote over it. I think it's pin 1. Anyway, it's showing dead, as well as this 8N, which is 273, pin 1, which is CL. I'm not sure what CL is. Is that a clock signal or a control signal? So that's what I'm going to have to look up. But see, I'm not familiar with all this stuff. I'm still learning. But anyway, all I know for sure is it is totally dead. I mean, when you put the logic probe on it, you get nothing. You get no sound from the speaker. You get no green LED. You get no red LED. You get no yellow LED. It's just totally dead. And if you follow it over to this one, it's totally dead there. Now, if you go here and you follow it up and you follow it over on 6U, which is a 157, pin 1, same thing. It's totally dead. And then on the 157 6U, pin 4 and pin 7, they're both dead. I mean, nothing on them. And if you follow both of them over to 8T, which is a 157, and 8U, which is a 174, the 8T to 157, pin 1, which is listed as S, whatever that is, it's dead. And it goes over here to 8U, which is a 174. Pin 9 is dead, and that's listed as a CP. So somehow, I imagine that's supposed to be some kind of a signal, either high, low, or pulsing or something. I'm not sure what it is, but if you follow back down here, it goes to P1, which is on the ribbon cable, one of the ribbon cables, to pin number 46, and it's listed as the CSBW, whatever that is. Okay, well, I had to look over the schematics to track this down because I'm getting nothing. It's totally dead on that P1 at 46 too. So that goes to the CPU board. So I looked over the CPU schematics. Okay, and I found it. Here it is right here, P1 46 CSBW, and it connects to an LSO2 C6 on pin 10. It's totally dead. If you go to the other side of this, pin 8 and 9, pin 9 is high, pin 8 is totally dead. Okay, well that goes up to whatever the CSB is, but that goes over here to the 6D, which is the LS74, pin 2, that's totally dead. You go up here, LSO2 at C6, pin 13, that's totally dead. All right, if you backtrack back up this way, you get all the way up to 8E, which is another LSO2, and pin 8, that's dead. And when I say dead, I mean it's dead, and that goes to the DMCS, whatever that is. And the arrow is pointing that way, so I would think that this should have some kind of a signal on it. So now what I got to do is try to figure out, well, what's the problem? Is the problem, is this the output? Is it supposed to be a signal going through the 50 pin ribbon cable to the video board? Or is the video board sending a signal back? I don't know. I know this right here is the clock signal. I'm pretty sure, because I got a pulse on that. So, I don't know. I'm just going to have to try to go through the data sheets and try to look at the truth tables. But the only thing that's throwing me here, like this is a 74 LSO2, okay, and right here is a LSO2. All right, we'll see how that is drawn right there. It's got two circles on the end and it's rounded. Well, in the O2 right here, the circle is on this end and it's not rounded. It's completely different. So why is the data sheet showing this when the schematic shows this? Is one wrong? I don't know. So I'm just going to have to try to figure this out. And if I can't figure it out, the only thing I know to do, for one thing, a lot of these ICs on here, the legs are pretty crusty on them. The plating is chipping off of them, and it could be that some of that electroplating on the legs has fallen off and might be under some of the chips and causing that little power problem. I doubt it, but it's always a possibility. So I'm kind of thinking that, well, maybe I should just go ahead and change every chip that's got a dead pin on it, every one of them, and see if anything changes. So that's kind of my plan of attack right now. But first I'm going to try to figure it out, because I don't want to go willy-nilly and just start shotgunning, pulling chips and replacing chips. I mean, if I have to, I will, but I I'm trying to go about this as, how can I put it, technically as I can, and trying to learn something as I go. So we'll see. I'll go ahead and study it and look it over, and I'll be back when I come to some kind of conclusion. Okay, I think I've come up with a plan of action here. The video schematic here, I mean, all this right here, this being dead, that dead, this dead, this dead, this dead, all goes back to this ribbon cable, pin 46, which goes to the CPU board. And that right there is dead. So I'm thinking that the lack of this signal is the reason all this is dead up here. I mean, if you look at this right here, which is dead, but it feeds these 3 chips right here. Well, all these 3 chips got activity on them. So, I mean, it's not like the chips are dead or got any shorts anywhere. Just that one pin is dead, which is connected to this. So, and the same thing up here. The only thing might be is this one right here, 6U to 157. I got 2 outputs right here that are completely dead. But that might be because this pin right here is dead from the no signal. And that's a S, that's a selector. So that's supposed to select between these 2 chips, I think. So if you don't have any signal coming in to select, then you're not going to have anything going out. So I'm betting that there's nothing wrong on this right here, that everything comes back to where right here, P1, pin 46, the CSBW signal, whatever that is, because the output of C6 right there is dead. One of the inputs is dead. You got a dead input there. That's dead. And go back up here. That's dead. So I'm thinking that somewhere right in here the problem is. So what I'm going to do is just go ahead and replace 8E, which is a LS02, 6C, which is another LS02, and 6D, which is a LS74. I'm going to replace those and see what happens. Okay, I'm back, and I'm making a little progress. I did a little research, and I found out that that signal that I was missing, the CSBW, I still don't really know what it is, but it is supposed to be a signal. Because the logic probe isn't saying it's a high signal or a low signal or a pulsing signal, it's just saying nothing. Evidently that means that that line or that pin is floating, what they call floating. In other words, it's just like nothing's hooked up to it. Now, I guess it's possible that in some circuits there may be, if that circuit isn't being used, or maybe it's not being accessed, maybe it can be floating, I don't know. But I would think that if it's a major signal, that it should be either a high, a low, a pulsing, or somewhere in between. So anyway, I went ahead and I marked off all the chips on the CPU board, because I disconnected the video board, because this signal through P1 of which is one of the ribbon cables on pin 46 of that P1 ribbon cable, it goes to the video board. Okay, so I disconnected the ribbon cables on both sides, so I completely disconnected any logic signals to the CPU. And when I put it on pin 46 on the CPU right here, which goes to this LS02 at 6C, it was floating. and it was floating here. It was floating here. It was floating up here on 8E. Then if we go to the other part of the schematics where the Z80 is, 6C also is up here, which is the DMCS signal, and that was dead. So I figured what I would do is since I don't have that signal on the CPU board with the video board disconnected, I would start with the video board. I mean with the CPU board. So I made a list of all these chips that had the floating signal, and it was 8E, 74LS02, 6C, 74LS02, 6D, an LS74, and 5D is a LS20, but that had good signals on it. But I replaced it because I found an article on the internet about troubleshooting or technical info on Popeye, and it said that this chip at 5D, the LS20, had something to do with this, I believe the CSBW signal, or it might have been the DMCS signal. I don't remember which now. So I decided to replace that too. So anyway, 8E was a LS02. I pulled it out and tested it, and it tested good in my little IC tester. But I went ahead and put a new one in anyway, since these chips, the legs are kind of crusty and rusty. So I went ahead and put a new chip in. All right, 6C, the LS02. I pulled it out and checked it, and it was bad. So I replaced it. All right, 6D, the LS74, tested good, but I replaced it anyway. And of course, the 5D, the LS20, tested good, but I went ahead and replaced it. So after replacing these 4 chips, which only one was bad, 6C, but if you look, 6C is right here. That had a floating pin. Pin 10 was floating. Pin 13 of 6C was floating. And over here, pin 4 of 6C was floating. So that's 3 pins on that one chip that was floating. And that was the bad chip. So I replaced it. I've hooked it back up. I powered it up. And there's nothing on the screen, okay? But let me cut this light off here so you can see it a little better. I got it on free play according to the dip switch settings. So if I hit player 1, look at there. And if I do the controls, I can make them punch. So it plays one player, and then when you get killed, that's it, nothing else. It doesn't do anything else. If I put it in test mode, I get the high-pitched sound, but I can't see nothing on the screen. So obviously there's something wrong with the video board now, but at least I got the program up and running. So that's progress. So now that that's running, I don't know, still could be something wrong on the CPU board, but I think I'm going to flip it over now and see if I can find something that's not right. I might have to go over the entire video board again and do some more checking. Now that I got that signal, it should be going to the video board. So I'm just going to have to make a few more checks, but progress is being made. So Stay tuned. I'll be back when I find something. All right, well, another little update here. As I was testing the board, I tried to put it in test mode, and it appears like it's going in test mode because if I understand correctly, if you push the service button while you power the game up, it gives out this tone, audible tone, and it does. But there's nothing on the monitor. It's not writing any text, so if you know, it should put up some text up there showing test results, and I'm not getting anything. So I definitely still have a problem on the video board, which I'm going to have to address. And anyway, and I still got that current draw. It's drawing the 5 volts down when you hook up the video. You know, I've had that since the beginning, and I still haven't found out what's causing that draw. But I did find out something, that when I put it in test mode and that audible tone was going, and I wish I had filmed this, but I didn't. I went ahead and pulled the board apart so I could inspect it closely, because what happened was I pushed on the board, and I was pushing on this audio chip here, this AY chip, and when I touched it, the sound would go off and let go and come back on. So I started flexing the board, and as I flexed the board, the sound would come and go. And I said, that means I have a bad connection somewhere. I don't see how it could be the socket, because I put new sockets in. So I got to thinking, I said, well, maybe it's a trace somewhere, or maybe it's a component, a cold solder joint. So I went ahead and took the board apart, and I started looking it over with my magnifying glasses. And I don't know why I didn't see this before, but I guess it's because it's so small. There's 4, well, it's more than 4, but it's 4 diodes, glass diodes, which are, I think, they're high-speed switching diodes that's on the CPU board. And one of them is right here close to the AY chip. And I got looking at it, and I don't know if the camera will pick it up, but it will focus in on it. But there it is right there, and it's broke. The glass diode is broke, and I think that's what was, when I was flexing the board, was making a connection. And there's 3 more of them. Let's see, there's one right here. That one is also broke. There's one right here. Might be able to see that one a little better. That one is really broke. And there's another one here somewhere. Let's see. 1, 2, 3. Third one right here. This one looks like it's cracked, but it's still got all the glass around it. That's the best one out of the 4. So I got looking, and even on the board it states there, let's see, where is it at? A 1S2076 is the part number, and that's what's in the manual. Well, turns out that crosses over to a 1N4148, and I just happen to have some that I've had for years. So yeah, I'll be able to replace those. I think I have these because these are used on Bally MPU boards from the late 70s or in the 70s. You know, the dash 35 boards, or what is dash 17s and all that good stuff. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and replace those. Now, I don't think that is going to fix anything, but then again, I don't know, because I'm not real sure what all of them do. If you look on the schematic here, the one that I think was causing the problem, let's see, it might work best without the light. The one that I think was causing the sound to go in and out, which is up here by the AY38910 chip, D13, which is the 1S2076. it's tied in directly to the AY chip and goes to this LS151, which is connected to the dip switches. So it has something to do with the dip switch settings. And the ones over here, let's see, you got one right here, and you got another one here, and let's see, you got another one right here. So this whole section right here, the only thing it really connects to, well, it does go down to the coin 1 on the edge connector, which goes up into this circuitry right here. But it also goes up here to something called the PONRES. So I'm suspecting that's some kind of reset. PON reset. I don't know what that is. I know some of you probably know what it is. Can tell me exactly what it is. But I'm pretty sure it has something to do with the reset circuit, because here on schematic, the CPU schematic 1 of 3, which is the schematic with the Z80, right down here, here it is, the PONRES, reset. But the arrow is pointing towards that, so that would mean the signal is going to that section where the diodes are instead of from it. But it's right here. Here's the reset line, the reset for the CPU. So I'm sure it's some type of reset. Now, could it be some kind of reset for the reason I start a game? I can start a game. It plays through one character. When I get killed, it dies. So it's not playing the whole game through. It's only playing one little section of the game. Plus, it doesn't have an attract mode. It's like it's coined up. Now, I have the dip switch setting for free play, and I don't know if I'm going to have to do a little research on this, whether Popeye, if you put it on free play, does it have an attract mode, or does it just have a static screen like some games do that says press, player 1 or player 2 to start a game or whatever? I don't know. I'm going to have to sit down and watch some videos, I guess. But that's what I've come to so far. I know those diodes are bad, so we're going to fix them before we continue on. After I fix them, I'll try the board out again, and if that doesn't change anything, then I'm going to flip the board over and start looking at the video board to see if I can't find out what the problem is with the video output. Then again, the video output is actually, it comes back through the ribbon cables, and see, it's on schematic 3 of 3 for the CPU, and let's see, here are the four RAM, so I guess that's video RAM, but it's not on the video card. This is on the CPU, but it's tied in directly to the outputs. This is TVR, which I think that's the red signal. This is TVG, that should be the green signal. And this is TVB, which should be blue. And down here is the sync. So I know I have sync, and I'm getting somewhat of I can see characters on the screen while the game is playing. Can't see everything. Everything's not there, so some objects are missing. And yeah, these RAM right here, 4A, 5B, 5A, and 3A, well, I think they're RAM. I'm not 100% sure about that. It's two different chips. Maybe they're not RAM. But anyway, here's P2, the ribbon cable. P2 and P1 of the ribbon cable. So they're coming from the video board, and all these are text, TX, TV. So all these are TX signals. So does that mean text? Is that the text generated? These are OBJ. Is that objects? And these are BAKC. Could that mean background graphics? And maybe they all are tied together here before they go out. I don't know. Like I say, I'm new to this, so I'm just thinking out loud to myself. So I guess I'm kind of boring you. But anyway, all right. Do a little more research, a little more troubleshooting, and when I find something, I'll be back. All right, well, I got all the new diodes installed, all 4 of them. One there, one there, one there, and one there. And this is what came out of it. 3 of them just fell apart. They were in pieces. This one was still intact, but if you can't get a real good look at it, but the part of the glass is cracked off of it. So anyway, all 3 is repaired, and I've already cheated. I've already fired it up. So it fixed 2 problems, but we still got bukus of problems. So first, let me just fire the game up. I'm just powering it up regular now. I got the lights cut down so you can see the screen better. Now, it's nothing but a blank raster. No characters on it or anything. We used to get, you know, random characters, not many, but a few. Now we're getting nothing, okay? So now let's press the player 1 button. And the game is playing, but as you can see, there's Popeye, there's Bruto, and there's olive oil, and that's the flour, and that's the bee thing, I think, and that's the boxing glove. So I have some objects, the characters are on here, but the colors are all wrong. But they're washed out, and the background is gray. I don't know if it's picking it up on the camera. There's the can of spinach. The spinach is purple, and the can is kind of yellow. So, and the hearts are blue, real light blue. But one thing is different. Once the character gets killed, Popeye gets killed, it goes to the next one. So the game is playing all the way through now. I even have controls. I can control them. I can punch. I'm not sure if he has a jump or not. Yeah, he has to have a jump, don't he? Is the joystick supposed to make him jump? I don't know. I haven't played Popeye in years. But maybe the jump's not working if it's got a jump. But okay, he just got killed now. We got another guy. I think I have it set for 5, whatever the maximum is in the dip switch settings. So the game is actually playing, but totally void of any background graphics. And the ones that I have look like they're inverted. So could this board have been inverted to play on a regular monitor? And because I got this Mike's Arcade adapter that has the built-in inverter, maybe if it didn't have the inverter on there, it would be right. But it's still something wrong with the video, so I don't know. Before I was saying about I thought the video output was going to ROMs, or I mean RAM. Well, it's not. It's these PROMs right here. It comes through the ribbon cable here, and it goes through these PROMs, and these are the transistors that are on the output. that's the one for the sink, and these are the red, blue, and green outputs right here. So, and of course they travel up through the board somehow here and end back up to the edge connector. So I don't know, are these proms, are these color proms, and if so, are they bad? I have no way of checking them. I can't even read them. I have the ROM images, but my programmer won't read them. I heard they have an adapter that you can get that will allow you to read them, but I don't know if it will work with my programmer. But right now, my programmer is dead too, because my main computer is sitting over there. That's what's got to go on the workbench next. The motherboard has given up the ghost. It's got bad capacitors. It's got capacitors swelling up and oozing junk out of it. And I have a new motherboard for it, which I bought when the computer was only like 2 or 3 years old, because I had a hard drive going bad and I thought it was the motherboard at the time, so I ordered a spare motherboard so I would have it in the future in case the motherboard did go bad, or if it was bad at that time. But it turned out it was just a hard drive at that time. So I'm going to have to swap motherboards in that computer, try to get it going, because that's also right now my main computer with my video editing software. So right now I'm dead in the water as far as that goes. Now, right here, this is a brand new tower case, and over there I got some more boxes. I have everything I need to build a new modern computer. So I got to get to that too. But before I do that, I want to get the old one back up and running. One, because it's got the parallel port that I used with my programmer, and number two, it's got all my video editing software on it. So right now I'm dead in the water as far as editing video. I can still upload it because I have an external 2 terabyte hard drive that hooks up to that computer that I store all my videos on, upload from the camera here. And right now I have that hooked up to a laptop, which is the same vintage as that, but it doesn't have a parallel port. But it's still running Vista 32-bit. But it's just a laptop. It's a Sony laptop, I believe, and it's got very little use on it over the years. I got it not long after I got that computer right there, so it's old, but it's never really been used. So right now I'm using that for my main computer. So until I get that computer up and running, well, that's subject for another whole video, I guess. But anyway, we're making progress on the board, but just going to have to figure out what's wrong with the video and try to get the video working. It's definitely something wrong on the video board because it's pulling the voltage down. I'm only getting like, with both boards hooked together, I think I'm getting 4.85 volts. And that's because I increased the voltage on the power supply in the JAMA cabinet here. If I was to disconnect that, it would go, disconnect the video board by unplugging the rainbow cable. The power going to the board would jump back up to a little bit over 5 volts, I believe. 5.2 volts is what I set it at. So I don't think it's going to help any if I turned it up any. I think the board is obviously booting up and is running program now, which is a lot more than what it was doing. So like I say, I'm getting there, but it's slow because I'm kind of muddling through it and learning as I go. And I still don't know a whole lot, but I'm trying to learn, and that's all you can do. So bear with me. I'm going to see it through. We're going to get this thing going one way or the other. But if I finally get to the point where I have to throw in the towel, I know it's some talented people out there that I can send it to, and I'm sure they'd be able to fix it up, because the board really is in maybe not the greatest shape when I started, but it's better than what it was. Some of the chips still have some, you know, rust and crust going on, and I still may be better off if I change out a few of these chips. But like, you know, some of the chips are even wore off where you can't even read what the chip is. I know some of the chips from the factory, they actually scratched the labels off the chip to hide the fact of what they were. Like these right here, I think some of these next to the CPU. On the schematic, they don't tell you what they are. They just say they're, I think, PLA or something like that. Well, I found an article on the internet about technical info on the Popeye board, and he says that these are nothing but just standard TTL chips. And in the article, he tells you which one is which. I mean, what they are in actuality. So if I have to change those, I can change them. But I think these are probably working because the program is running, but the program's not running correctly because I have no attract mode. I guess I could switch it off free play and find out that way, but I might just go watch some YouTube videos. Okay, this is it. I'm done rambling. Till I find something else, I'll see you.
I'm Popeye the Sailor Man. Popeye the Sailor Man. I'm going to finish cause I feel living. I'm Popeye the Sailor Man. I'm one of the loaders which hates all polluters. What hates on the up and square. Why tips and I bottom and always outrun them, but none of them get nowhere.